We're live on your DSTV channel 421, Go TV channel 125. This is Johnny's Prime with me, Samuel Kojo Brace. In our lead stories this hour, more public condemnation of Ghana's Attorney General following his meeting with an accused person in the residence of a sitting justice of the Supreme Court. With growing calls for a further probe, former director of the Ghana School of Law says Godfrey-Dame must resign. Also, ECG fully comply with cash waterfall mechanism payment as its revenue exceeds over 1 billion Ghana cedis, highest since November 2023. And also on the construction of the Ofori-Atta Dam, minority members on the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament fought the Finance and Agri Ministries in the payment of $12 million to Power China International. Details as it emerges, government may have paid more than $12 million to Chinese contractors. Now, a former director of the Ghana School of Law, Mr. Ansari, is calling for the resignation of the Attorney General and the Minister for Justice, Godfrey-Dame, for meeting with the third accused in the ongoing trial of Dr. Akufo-Addo Forson, businessman Richard Jakpa. The Attorney General has denied any wrongdoing in the meeting with the accused, but speaking to MFR PAO, Dr. Ansah said since the Attorney General knows it is unlawful to meet an accused person outside of the provisions of the law, then the AG, having met with Mr. Jakpa in the residence of a sitting justice of the Supreme Court, must resign or be sacked by the President.
My candid opinion is that the learned Attorney General knows or is deemed to know the law. Apart from the judges, I think the other person we can say the law rests in its bosom is the Attorney General. The Attorney General ought to know where, how, and when he has to meet accused persons, and in the residence of a sitting justice of the Supreme Court. This is scandalous. And the Attorney General must resign, or the President must fire him. This thing happened in 1975 in the case of the Republic versus Dr. Isaac Onyinijan. A similar plea bargaining was entered into by the then learned Attorney General, who was also the acting dean of the Faculty of Law, the University of Ghana, Mr. Justice Austin Emisa. And Ghanaians will recall that it was that similar plea bargaining that caused Austin Emisa his job as Attorney General. For my respectable Dame to engage himself in this scandalous manner, I mean, if he has a conscience, no one should advise him. He has to advise himself to resign. Whether he can continue cross-examining him or not is neither here nor there. Mind you, under Article 88, Clause 1 of the 1992 Constitution, the Attorney General is the principal legal advisor to the Chief Executive of the state and the government of the Republic of Ghana. Under Article 88, 4 and 5, he has not only audience, but absolute control over the prosecution and conduct of criminal cases throughout the country. But my candid opinion is, let's discuss this, within the context of Article 19, fair trial. Will Forson have fair trial given the circumstances, or will Richard Jakpa have fair trial under the circumstances?
Well, the comment by Dr. Ansar Sari comes on the back of a call by private legal practitioner and law lecturer Dr. Justice Remsai for a commission of inquiry or a special parliamentary probe into the allegations. Speaking on the probe Sunday evening, Dr. Remsai argued that given the weighty nature of the allegation and how it affects the country's criminal justice system, a special probe is required to bring a closure to the controversy.
I know that the institutions of state are capable of ensuring that we have a fair trial for these people. It does not mean that the accused person should be left to go, but it means that some changes in the prosecutorial department of government must happen. Otherwise, then there cannot be progress. Because at the end of the day, like I said, there is no way with all these things you will put someone in jail and the person will have that expected free mind to accept the verdict. Clearly, it is not. It is not something that we can do. And it may, when things like this happen, let's go back to history. When strange things happen in a country and things they've never happened before, what we often do is to set up a commission of inquiry. So if you look at all the commissions of inquiry from May 9 disaster, from all the commissions of inquiry, so it is when things like this happen, which have never happened before, and we want an honest and open conversations about them, and we want a permanent solution to some of these things, we set up a commission of inquiry to have an open conversation. And
that's what you are leaning towards.
That is what I think should happen under this, because it goes beyond a simple trial of some 2-3 people. It goes deep into the criminal justice system. It goes very deep into the office of the Attorney General. And it goes beyond that. So, and the citizens want something. They want every Ghanaian want to see fairness. Every Ghanaian want to see fairness. So I think we should be looking at the commission of inquiry, or at least a parliamentary inquiry into this.
Okay.
Well, the Attorney General's department insists the AG did nothing wrong when he met Richard Jakpa without his lawyer. Spokesperson for the department, Isaac Wilberforce-Mensah, told MFR PAO that Richard Jakpa did not have a lawyer at the time AG met with him to discuss his plea bargain request.
What I'm saying is that if you had followed this case, you would realize that even when he was asked to open his defense, he did not have a lawyer. He started giving oral testimony on his defense. So there were several instances where he did not have a lawyer. There were several instances when he did not come to court. There was not even a lawyer in court representing him. And these are all matters on record. So at the time the incident happened, he did not have a lawyer. When the plea negotiations started with the learned counsel, Thomas Obin, the Attorney General was negotiating with Thomas Obin. You can see from the correspondences that are out there, and the correspondences out there, or the letters that we see out there between the two parties. And I repeat, with the greatest respect, Mr. Remsai, it is not the Attorney General who released those letters. So let's not make certain emphatic statements, for instance, that the AG has released those letters and that the AG has never, and also that the AG has said that people are guilty, which are prejudicial comments. He has never said that. He said he has closed his case. Now let's move on. At the time when these negotiations started, the Attorney General was negotiating with the lawyer, Thomas Obin, in this regard. As the negotiations continued, the accused person has fired or had fired the lawyer at the time.
Okay, so at the time this meeting happened, he didn't have a lawyer. That's what you're saying? We are really out of time. We're running out on this. That's why I'm asking the specific questions so we can get specific answers. So this 6 weeks ago meeting that was held at the Supreme Court Justice's home also, at that time, Jakpa didn't have a lawyer.
That's what we are saying. So therefore, it was a bit more reassuring for the Attorney General to know that there's a Supreme Court Justice who is a relative to the accused person. So his presence, of course, would be in the best interest of the accused person. This is not Sebio Hisebu-Champagne. This is a justice of the Supreme Court. So when the Supreme Court Justice invites the Attorney General to come over, and in that said meeting, Richard Jakpa shows up, and then the conversation continues in respect of the plea negotiations, then I don't think the Attorney General has done anything wrong, especially as I pointed out that at all material times that they met, the the third accused person was not represented by counsel.
Now, we're joined by lawyer Samson Ladi Ayeni, a private legal practitioner. Lawyer, I'm grateful to you for joining us. Now, you listened to the AG spokesperson there. He says, at the time the AG met with the accused didn't have a lawyer. And again, it was a meeting arranged by someone, and the AG was not in the known that he would meet the accused there. What does the law say about the AG or a prosecutor meeting an accused person?
After speaking to you about an hour ago, I am reliably informed that the claim that it is a certain judge who sort of organized a said meeting is a claim we must take with a pinch of salt.
Okay.
But I understand that. Okay, I'll pause there. It's difficult for me to process how to deal with that kind of information.
So lawyer, it means someone is not telling the public the truth or the fact of the matter.
Yes, it's what I am informed suggests that what the AG's spokesperson told MFA, which you have just played, is a big lie, and that there is evidence that will show that it's a big lie. But we must wait for that evidence. Okay. That the claim of the involvement of a judge directly and the AG being unaware, that's what I am reliably informed, and have been pointed to something which shows that that claim potentially in the course of events will fall flat as a lie. But the question of law you raise is what we must deal with. Whether the person had a lawyer, and if the person had a lawyer, what should have happened? That one we have discussed. The law is very clear that you don't deal with the person who is accused who has a lawyer. Now, the law on plea bargain says, and I quote, a person charged with a criminal offense may anytime or negotiate with the attorney general for a plea arrangement. The purpose of the plea arrangement is to reduce an offense charge for a lesser offense, to withdraw a charge against the accused person, or to reduce the punishment for the accused person. And the law says where the accused person is represented by a lawyer, the plea negotiation shall be between the prosecutor and counsel for the accused person. Now, where there is no lawyer, that's the question you are asking. From the interaction you had with Wilberforce, he was saying that the Attorney General was having an interaction with the accused person and telling him that if I ask you this question under cross-examination, you should answer that this. If I ask you this question, you should answer this way. And that's all the Attorney General did, was to ask the accused person to speak the truth.
Okay.
If that is all there is, that the Attorney General simply spoke to the person and said, speak the truth, while the law may be breached, there may not be any issue. But if what he tells us is construed as coaching the witness, then the law is against it. Because our professional conduct rules says, quote, a lawyer shall not coach or encourage a witness to give evidence which that witness believes to be false. So coaching is frowned upon.
Okay.
And it is worse if the coaching is to give false information to implicate somebody.
Okay. All right. I'm grateful to you, lawyer, for this education you've given us tonight. Lawyer Ladi Ayanini is a private legal practitioner there. Now, from that story, PRC's March 2024 validation report has revealed that ECG has, for the first time, complied fully with payment to energy sector players under the cash waterfall mechanism. Now, according to the report, ECG recorded revenue worth more than 1 billion cedis in March 2024 and has gone ahead to make payments to sector players, including the independent power producers. The Joy News Research Desk has been combing through the report, and Isaac Kofi joins me with more on this. Kofi, let's start with the exact amount collected by ECG under the period, in the period under review. 1 billion. What is that? Yeah. Do we have more?
I mean, March 2024, for the first time, ECG is collected more revenue, above 1 billion Ghana cedis compared to that high value they collected in November 2023. So you're asking me for the correct or exact amount. It's approximately 1.003 billion Ghana cedis. And this is up from the more than 836 million Ghana cedis they collected in February 2024. The good news is that ECG's revenue is up by some 20% between February and March 2024.
Okay.
What do we know? We know that this total value of more than 1 billion Ghana cedis has been shared amongst all sector players under this cash waterfall mechanism. And for the first time, there are no arrears. There were no variance between expected and actuals, even at the level B category. We know that the IPPs or the sector players are classified into two forms under the cash waterfall. We have the level A and the level B.
Yeah.
Level A are usually the IPPs, and the level B you have in the ECG itself, BUI and then GridCo.
So you normally say the state-owned enterprises in the power
And all
sector.
the time, the state side is where we accrue a lot of debt or arrears. This time around, ECG cleared everything for the month of March 2024. And one thing we understand is that if you look at WAPCO, WAPCO used to be part of VRA, and they were all classified as Category B. But this time around, WAPCO, that produces or supplies us with natural gas and also gives us the opportunity to use their pipeline for the transportation of gas.
From west?
Absolutely. They were classified under the Category A, and then they were given some $4 million a brace.
Okay, interesting. It's good to hear what's happening. It means that could possibly have, how will that impact on the current intermittent parties that we have? Do we know anything in relation to that?
We know that this year, for instance, we need a total of $1.14 billion to buy fuel. And this is how, ECG shared the over 1 billion Ghana cedis among the sector players. IPPs, definitely, they take, or the Category A guys, they take the biggest portion of the pie. They took more than 620 million Ghana cedis. The remaining amount went to the Sector B players. They took some 334 million Ghana cedis. Now, there's a problem here. I mean, there's a sector player who is not doing, its work, which is, let's look at that sector player, the Finance Ministry. And the Finance Ministry, since August 2023, they have a role to play under the revised cash waterfall mechanism, which is to pay top-ups so that we do not have arrears accumulated. That same top-up is what we use to help in purchasing fuel. You asked me if the intermittent power supply will reduce. If the Finance Ministry comes on board to provide their top-ups, ECG will have that breathing space to operate. Now, we understand that the month of March, they were supposed to pay some 159.9 million Ghana cedis. They've not paid that. Let's look at between that period that we are looking at, from August 2023 to now. Let's look at that and look at the total amount the finance ministry is owing under the
$1.44 billion. That's how much the finance.
In fact,
the finance ministry alone.
It's actually in cedis. I mean, it's 1.44 billion cedis. That's the total amount that the finance ministry is owing. And we know that money was $59 million March. I think the highest has been around November, over 200 million Ghana cedis. So in total, the finance ministry has to pay some 1.44 billion Ghana cedis that they are owing under the cash waterfall. And if you're able to do that, I'm sure we all have reliable power.
All right, thank you. So that's Isaac Kofi-Addo there. Now, away from that, the Minority on Parliament, Mines and Energy Committee has turned its guns on the finance and agric ministries in payment of $12 million to MS Power China International for no work done. The Polugu Dam, which is estimated to cost $1 billion, was expected to have been completed by now. 6 months to the end of the Akufo-Addo tenure, not much has been done to derive the benefit from the project, even though $12 million has already been paid to the contractors. At a recent Public Accounts Committee sitting, it came to light that the government has made the final payment to the contractors, and a lot of questions were being asked.
We'll see final payment for construction of the Kwalago irrigation project. Yes. Kwalago irrigation project, final payment. Final payment for the construction of the Kwalago irrigation project. The question is, I thought probably before payments are made, contractors present certificates. Because when you get to Kwalago, there's nothing there. There's no even a pole. There's no even a signboard. And if the contractor is taking $11 million, there's nothing. There is no even a what do we call it? Like a container. You can't even see the project site. So what certificate was presented before this money was paid? That's my question.
I think the amount you're referring to was paid in 2021, not 2022. And the auditors would have to tell us because they must have cited their documentations before they wrote this report. The Auditor General, yeah, so maybe they can explain.
Auditors, could you help us out over here? It says final payment. Now, the honorable member is saying that there's nothing at that site. I'm sure when you did the audit, you saw something.
Honorable Chair, Controller instructed them to pay, and they paid. We are not aware whether the project has been completed or there's nothing ongoing.
So this particular development then prompted some NDC members on the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament to visit the site of this dam. A ranking member of the committee, John Jinapo, described the situation as scandalous.
That so far almost $12 million has been paid to the contractor. At today's exchange rate of about 16 cedi, that translates to about 192 million Ghana cedis. And as you can see, nothing, and I mean nothing, is being done here. This is the taxpayers' money wasted. We visited the site for the contractor, and you can attest, the contractor has packed and left site. Not only has he abandoned the project, the chippings that he brought there, the few blocks that were molded to even construct the site, our information is that those blocks have been sold. The chippings has equally been sold, and so the taxpayers' money has gone down the drain. My checks in Accra indicates that the contractor has even left Ghana. We find this development very, very unfortunate. From all intents and purposes, this was nothing but an election gimmick to hoodwink the people. Right after the elections, nothing has happened. And so this can best be described as a scam.
Well, he says the minority's next line of action would be to trigger the necessary parliamentary processes to hold those responsible for the malfeasance accountable.
I'm convinced in my mind, beyond reasonable doubt, I'm certain that this current administration, with President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia in charge, there will be no value for money, to be a wasteful expenditure, and they can simply not deliver because they do not know what it takes to deliver on such projects.
So we should be assured that the committee will hold before it the relevant ministers and agencies, or there's going to be, an urgent question on the floor for answers to come?
Absolutely. Be assured that the committee and Parliament will take the necessary step. I have confidence in our chairman, Honorable Atta. He's quite level-headed, right. He's quite independent. And sometimes when he sees what is wrong, even with his political coloration, he does the right thing. I'm also very proud of the Navrongo Central MP. I'll be missing him in the next Parliament. I hope that his replacement will be as thorough and as hardworking as he is. Right. He read the documents and brought these issues up. And that's what we members of Parliament ought to be doing. Right. Our duty is to go into the matter, investigate it, and bring out the issues. So we'll continue.
But consultant to the Paulo Gudam project, Professor David Miller, says the government may have paid more than $12 million to the Chinese contractors.
Well, if you tell me that is a conclusive payment, it means there are earlier payments before that.
Yes, and they describe it as final.
Yeah, if they say this is final, then a lot more has been paid before. And if you ask me, I can give you a guesstimate, but I don't want to go there. I'm saying that a lot has been paid more than twice.
More than the 12 million.
The 2 billion.
More than the $12 million?
Yes, more.
Wow.
Because I was a consultant and I was paid.
You were paid for doing what?
For doing the stakeholder consultations. No. That's how I started. So I did
Prof, we have no problem with that.
John.
Prof, your payment, I have no problem with that.
Let's do a two-pronged approach.
Right.
Those who have the powers and the ability to do the financials should go ahead.
Well, away from that, a High Court in Accra this morning struck out an application by the defense team of the Fix the Country convener, Oliver Barker-Vormawor, that sought to challenge the jurisdiction of the High Court and the constitutionality of the offense. Mr. Barker-Vormawor was charged with treason in 2022 when he was picked up by the National Security Operatives for threatening a coup if Parliament goes ahead to pass the then E-levy bill, a bill that was subsequently passed into law. In court on Monday, the sitting judge struck out an application filed by Mr. Barker-Vormawor challenging the constitutionality of the offense and the court's jurisdiction, paving the way for trial to commence. Latif Idrisu was in court and has the rest of the story.
We are all involved in building our motherland.
In February 2022, when Mr. Barker-Vormawor was picked up at the Kotoka International Airport on his arrival from the United Kingdom, the charges leveled against him by the state was that he was attempting to usurp the executive powers of the Republic, in effect, attempting to overthrow President Akufo-Addo. That has been the argument and the charge leveled against him for the past 2 years. But today in open court, the state attorney led by Denta Yanka, that's the state's senior state attorney, sort of changed the arguments. She put forth that Mr. Barker-Vormawor essentially lacks the capacity to undertake a coup, and in fact, he is not a violent individual. The case the state is now making is that Mr. Barker-Vormawor, his pronouncement and publication on social media was going to rather incite others to take up arms to overthrow President Akufo-Addo. Mr. Barker-Vormawor, who was surrounded by his troops, made the case that the ruling by the High Court will not change his course, speaking truth to power.
Now, my words were clear that I would do the coup myself. Yeah. Now, if I said I would do a coup myself, how am I inciting others to go and do a coup? Like we have always said, this is a coup about mindset, that the famanyami attitude of our people who have allowed themselves to be oppressed for years, we would end it. And we will do it either alone or together with others. We do not care about their broken politics. And it's only we, the people, who can make that a reality by purposeful organizing, by saying no to power. Whenever power backs, we will back twice.
Whatever power shouts, we will shout twice, because our voice and the cause of justice is always louder than those of those who oppress us.
Supporters of Mr. Barker-Vormawor, including the lead convener of the Dumsoma Stop Vigil, Mr. Dramani, who showed up in court, also made the argument that the continuous trial of this case is nothing but a waste of the meager resources of the state.
So that's transpired here today. It's so embarrassing that you say the person is not violent, the person doesn't have the capacity to usurp the executive authority of this country through force. So why are we here? So that case, on the basis of that alone, this case should have been thrown out. It should have been thrown out, because the key ingredient in that thing is the violence and the use of force. You say the person doesn't have that, but he was rather inciting people. So the case is a bogus one. This case will not yield anything for this country. It should be dismissed by the judge.
The case has since been adjourned to June 3, 2024, when the proper trial is expected to commence, now that the case of jurisdiction and the constitutionality of the offense has been dealt with. From the High Court Complex, Latif Idris reporting for Joy News.
We are all.
This is still the Joy News Prime. We will take a quick break. We'll be back with more. Please don't go away. Let's do election headquarters now, and that is brought to you by Petrosoil Clean Fuel in full quantity. The Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, CIMA, AICPA, together as the Association of International Certified Professional Accountants. Also by the German Ozone Medical Center, Alternative Therapy, Wellness, Dental and Beauty, and also the Chopbox Technologies, a convenient service, and Youth Bridge Foundation. Election headquarters for an informed electorate. Now, the former President John Dramani Mahama and Vice President Mahamudu Bawumia clashed at the Ghana CEO Summit when Dr. Bawumia joined the summit via Zoom. Immediately, John Mahama finished addressing the business community. The two politicians pointed accusing fingers at each other over who has better managed the economy, corruption, and other pressing issues. The former president was the first to mount the stage when he promised to stabilize the city in his first 100 days in office by launching an urgent economic recovery and fiscal consolidation plan following a national economic dialogue should he win power in December. Moment after John Mahama's speech, the host of the program read a WhatsApp message from the vice president, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, of his desire to join the conversations on Zoom and respond to the former president boot for boot. Dr. Bawumia jabbed the former president, whom he says rubbished some of the MPP's flagship programs, including the free SHS.
Forge strategic partnerships with skill development agencies and educational institutions to offer targeted training programs and apprenticeships to our youth.
If you look at all the routine things that governments do in the area of development, we have done much more and performed much better than his government.
Emphasizing vocational and technical training alongside quality higher education is essential, and we're determined to invest in this human resource base, which will be critical to Ghana's industrial agenda. We'll train our artisans, technicians, and professionals to a world-class standard.
Our investment in technical and vocational education, over 6 billion Ghana cedis in the last 7 years, the highest investment in technical and vocational education by any government in the Fourth Republic. And we've made technical and vocational education also free.
By this, we intend to invest $2 billion each year in priority infrastructural projects to boost economic growth and prosperity.
Most people thought it wasn't going to be possible. In fact, the former president said if he had 2 billion Ghana cedis, he wouldn't invest it in free senior high school education. But well, we have, and the benefits are huge.
And yet there remains a substantial digital divide in Ghana. Only an estimated 34 to 40% of rural individuals have internet access compared to between 59 and 66% of urban dwellers.
17 MMDAs, and we have been able to onboard onto one platform, the Ghana.gov platform, 1,507 MMDAs. So 99% of all the MMDAs are now on the Ghana.gov platform, and you can go there and ask for a service or pay for a service for those who are receiving payments and so on. We're just left with 10 more.
Of course, extending business hours will create a need for additional shifts, which will result in more employment opportunities for our young people. This will significantly reduce unemployment and underemployment, providing jobs for those who may struggle to find work during traditional hours, such as students, part-time workers, and those with family commitments.
Industry, we are doing better than what he left. So you are talking about an economy that has collapsed, but that collapsed economy is performing better than your economy that you left us. We have created more jobs, 2.1 million jobs, than any government in the Fourth Republic. He was creating unemployment with Dumso and everything. We are creating jobs, 1.2 million jobs in the public sector.
Conflicting or disjointed regulatory requirements can unnecessarily burden industries, while regulatory gaps can leave significant risks unaddressed. And our experience with regulation in this country is used like a tool or a whip to hit the industry that is supposed to regulate on the head. It should rather be a facilitator.
I don't want to tinker with the existing tax system. I want a new tax system. I've studied the tax systems across the world. The most tax competitive country in the world, the last 10 years in a row, is Estonia. So I took a team to Estonia and we studied their tax system. They are working on a flat tax system. So, and I believe that Ghana would benefit from a flat tax system.
Well, the National Democratic Congress's parliamentary candidate for Efutu, James Kofi Annan, is accusing the Electoral Commission of a deliberate attempt to manipulate the constituency's voters' register in the favor of the New Patriotic Party as a result of the transfer of the Efutu municipality's director of the commission. He says, though the EC is yet to conclude the limited voters' registration exercise, which would be followed by the transfer of votes, the Efutu Municipal Director of the Electoral Commission, Ama Akotua, has been transferred with immediate effect, raising suspicions on the part of the NDC over a deliberate attempt to have the voters' register manipulated. He has been addressing journalists in Efutu.
We do not dispute the discretion or the independence of J. Mensah to transfer any of her officers. That is an administrative duty conferred on the Electoral Commission. But what we are saying is, why would you transfer an officer in such an ungodly hour when you know that there is an ongoing registration and there is an impending transfer to be done? If you wanted to undertake such an administrative duty, you know that before registrations are started, there are direct meetings that involve parties that take decisions. There are election task force formed in the constituency that take decisions around the elections. All these things have been spearheaded by the current person who has led the Electoral Commission in the constituency. Why would you then wait after that person has led all these processes and has even started registration? We just have just a few days to end the limited registration. Why would you wait until the middle of the exercise that you transfer the person? And then also transfer the person with immediate effect. You brought the letter. We are told that the letter came over the weekend and she's leaving this week to Ho. So that is where we have questions. We have doubt about the intentions of the Electoral Commission, especially when we are told that the person is leaving effective on the day that the voter transfer is starting. And this coincides with when we are told that the director had an altercation with leadership or element within the leadership of the NPP. And we are hearing a lot of stories and news about the MPP sending people all around constituencies, asking them to transfer their vote to a Futu constituency.
This is still the Joy News Prime. We'll take a break here. We'll be back with Showbiz. Please do stay.
Listen, the MP.
All right, welcome back. Let's do Showbiz. And Becky Bex is in the house. Hi, Becky. How are you doing?
I'm okay. How you doing?
I'm good.
It's been a really stressful weekend.
Weekend for you. It started on Saturday for you, huh?
Yeah, it started. So many things happening on at the weekend. We lost a good one at the weekend as well. It started from Lil Wayne's accident in Kumasi. And later on, KK Fosu and Bless, and the soldier that we lost, John, Nicki Minaj's arrest. The entertainment industry essentially hasn't been a nice one.
Okay.
So we have all of these stories wrapped up for you.
When your days down here are through, there's a place up there for people like you.
Let's move away from the sad news and talk about the AU Day celebration.
It's quite a very packed, it was quite a packed weekend there.
Yeah.
Our heart goes out to all the people who've lost loved ones. Well, but remember to brush your teeth before you go to bed this evening. And tomorrow morning, when you wake up from bed with either the Pepsodent Cavity Fighter, Pepsodent Charcoal, the Pepsodent Herbal, or the Pepsodent Triple Protection. Because with Pepsodent, we always say, every smile matters. Thanks for being a part of us. There's more news on myjoyonline.com.